Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast. I'm Cullen Freeman. I'm with Moise Bombito, and as always, Jesus De Vicente. We're so fortunate to have Moise on today, one of the top players in the world at the moment. Obviously, one of the top players in North America. He's had a hugely, extremely breakout season so far. Is with Nice. He's done very well in Ligue 1 as well as the Europa League. So, Jesus, pleasure to have you on. And Jesus, can you talk briefly about just how you were able to get Moise on and kind of your background with him?
Well, so I got the pleasure my first season at Iowa Western. Shared a lot of moments with him. Won a national championship, and then we spent a whole spring together before he transferred to UNH. And I also got the pleasure of having him visiting my family and coming to Spain. Yeah, so big friend of mine, and Moise, thank you for jumping on with the podcast today. And yeah, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you guys. It's also a pleasure to be on that podcast today and can't wait to discuss a little bit of my journey and yeah, catch up a little bit.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, we'll jump right into that now, Moise. I mean, heck, big 12 months for you. Obviously, your first season in France. So, what are your thoughts so far? Obviously, Nice has done very well this year, sitting third in the table right now. But what have been your overall thoughts so far in your first season in France?
I think I'm really impressed with the level and the quality that my teammates and also my opponents have shown, and I just feel like I've gone into a really good transition because if you look at where I started, I've been playing in MLS for the past 2 seasons, and yeah, just coming on and being able to fit right in is just shows the quality that I possess as well. And I feel like what helped me the most in my transition was the fact that I spoke the language. Me being able to speak French just allows me to communicate and be able to just create friendships also because it's not only about being good on the pitch. You have to also balance both being good on the pitch and off the pitch. So yeah, I think that helped as well. But to be honest, just to be able to talk about my overall performances, I think it's been quite good. Obviously, there's some bad moments or moments that I think I can learn from. But yeah, if you just look at where I started again and you just see me play week in and week out, and you're like, okay, this guy has actually got some potential to not even just stay in the game, maybe go on to another level. It just speaks volume about how quickly I can adapt. Now, yeah, I'm proud of myself for being able to be on that level, but I'm not just satisfied. I'm kind of hungry and want to show that I can establish myself in Europe. But to be fair, I think I've done a good job for now. Yeah.
Yeah, speaks a lot about your mentality, something that we'll definitely get into as this podcast goes on, because I think it's extremely top and shows how you've had so much success at the professional level so far. But, kind of watching you here in the United States and also now abroad, it's clear obviously you've developed in certain aspects of your game, but for yourself, what is one way you really feel like you've kicked on and developed? I mean, obviously, you're an extremely athletic player, but it seems you're clearly advancing kind of in terms of your positioning, reading the game on the ball. What are your kind of thoughts on that so far?
Yeah, I think that was one of my main thing to progress on because what made me come into this and this level was I think my physical attributes, the fact that I was actually quite fast and was able to recover well and yeah, just be able to dominate on the field physically. But I also feel like in this game you've got to have to especially on my position you have to be able to read what's going on and what is about to happen, not just when your team has the ball but also when you've got to defend. And I feel like I've been able to read the game quite well now, and there's a progression, and I feel like you can clearly see that I'm willing to take those hardships because there's been moments where it was quite off, but also in my head I've been saying that yeah, if I'm in this team and in this league, that means that I'm actually good, and that doesn't mean that if I have a bad game or bad moments, that doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. You just got to take it as learning moments, and I did, and I feel like yeah, my positioning has been quite better now, and there's also steps that I can reach, and I feel like yeah, it's achievable with the help of my assistant coaches, my defending coach that helps me a lot, and we do a lot of video session about those kind of areas that I can improve on, and I feel like yeah, it's a great fit, a great team that I've joined, and they take time with their players, and that's what I like too. Because sometimes you just feel like in Europe people are really business minded and they just want good results and they don't really care about players and they feel like it just comes and goes, you know. But with this team, I just really feel like that they really take time with developing players, and that's a main thing for me because you don't just want to be around and then all of a sudden you have a bad performances, yeah, and then they take you away, you know. And I feel like that's something they've done really well. But yeah, I feel like on the ball, I also improve as well. I can find passes in those pockets. I can also play long. I feel like I can improve also in my aerial duels. I feel like I can be a bit better there, but that will come with I think experience and yeah, I think as of right now it's been a good progression for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you talk a lot about that, about every single area of your game, and
Yeah.
it's clear to me that it's something you very much prioritize. And something about your background that's also very fascinating, I think, is you clearly prioritize, video, certain moments of a match, and just overall improvement. So, I mean, video is something you've spoken heavily upon about how you watch each match back, you watch your opponents carefully, trying to understand how they think. What's that period been like for you so far? Obviously, there's so many highly technical, but also just extremely well-minded players throughout Ligue 1, and also your experience in the Europa League. So, how has kind of video and seeing the game from a higher level kind of helped you improve so far in your time in France?
That's a great question. I feel like video has been a big weapon for me because of the type of players I've played against, the caliber of how good they can be on the ball, how good they can be in the box, and I feel like yeah, I've played against really good strikers, and then for being able to defend against them, you just have to kind of think just like them, and for that to happen, you have to prioritize video and watch a game over and over and over. And yeah, people think you're crazy, but it's kind of like what you got to do because it's not just about playing and having fun because it's also your work. You know, it's your job to perform and do well in those big games. And I feel like this is something that you really have to prioritize. And yeah, I've done video a lot, and I keep doing that stuff because it helps me throughout my career and my game. Let's say I just played the last Sunday and I've watched my videos like twice or three times and I'm still thinking about them and I take notes and yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going on and yeah, that's there's a lot of stuff that's going on after a game. It's not just about yeah, your recovery and how fit you have to be for the next game, but it's also mentally and knowing who you're playing against. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, but video is a key weapon for me for sure.
Definitely. I think that speaks volumes as you as a professional. And also, I mean, I've listened to you in other moments. Your career in video seems like something that's always kind of been there. So I think it speaks volumes of how you've been kind of able to develop along that way. And also, for any younger players listening, I think you can see the importance of video and just seeing the game from a different perspective rather than in those moments on the pitch. So I think your career path kind of speaks volumes there, and also the importance of video. And looking at kind of your career over the past 12 months, obviously from an outside perspective, it seems pretty hectic. Around this time last year, you were starting up, your second MLS season with the Colorado Rapids, and now you're obviously with Nice. But I really want to kind of focus in on that period around kind of the Copa America when you return the Rapids. Obviously, you go to the MLS All Star game, and then eventually that move to France. What was that period kind of like for you? Did you feel ready for the move at the time to France? Were you kind of just living in the present at the time? What mentally were you kind of going through in those moments?
Yeah, so I kind of knew that there was interest from Europe, not just France, but Europe in general. I knew that there was interest back in April of 2024. So from then, I was kind of like, I won't say shocked, but I was like, okay, there's definitely another step for me. So the ways that I was just thinking about it was how can I approach this? How can I be able to not just think about what's the next step, but focus on the day, you know, because there's actually games that you have to play, you have to perform, it's still your job. And yeah, I feel like it's been kind of hectic, but I've managed pretty well. I just found a way to, yes, have it in my mind, but not be like take all of my ideas and yeah, how I was gonna approach a game and thinking, okay, if I do this, are the scouts that are in France or Europe are gonna see this play? I was just thinking about me doing my job on the day, and yeah, the next step is gonna be the next game, and then as of right now, I'm still a Colorado Rapids player, so I have to perform and be good on the day. But yeah, I think throughout my Copa America tourney, that's when people were like, okay, what's going on with him? And it started to be a bit more concrete and something was actually going to be happening. So I was playing for my country. So to be honest with you, I really did not have that in my mind because I really wanted to perform for my country because I was also playing for my family, my friends, and everything that I knew about was Canada. So I was just like really proud of that moment. And yeah, after Copa America was done, that's when I was kind of like back to earth, and I was, I won't say shocked, but I was like, okay, it's gonna happen really soon, you know. And it was just a matter of when. I knew it was gonna be this summer, and I just didn't know where I was gonna go because there was talks with Lyon, Salzburg, and Nice, and I just felt like the project with Nice was much more concrete, and it felt more like they were thinking about me also, not just the player, but the person, the human being, you know. And yeah, it just felt better for me to go there, and that didn't. I don't regret my decision for sure. But yeah, what before I think I went there, there was the All Star game that was happening, like you said. And that was a really cool moment as well because that was one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to play in the All Star game, and for me to achieve that just speaks volume about how when you prioritize stuff and you really work hard and put yourself in the right positions, stuff is gonna happen for you. And I was really happy about this game, even though we got crushed 4-1. I was just really happy to be there, to be honest. But yeah, it was kind of hectic. I won't lie to you.
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously, I mean, as you mentioned there, you're in so many different environments,
Yeah.
different experiences, and obviously so many amazing moments. And, your mindset kind of fascinates me through this. I was listening to a podcast the other day where you were speaking upon how you kind of set goals for yourself going into that 2024 season with the Rapids of, being an all-star and obviously, having that experience of the Copa America with your national team as well. And, you accomplish these goals during that time period. And obviously, you get this massive move abroad, what was probably a childhood dream to go play in a top five league in another country, one of the best leagues in the world. And obviously, also throughout this time period, you're playing so many matches. You also spoke upon how all these moments kind of made you hungry to achieve more, and that you were kind of thinking, if I can achieve this in such a short time period, imagine what I can achieve during a longer time period. So how are you kind of able to balance, like you said, being in the present and soaking in these moments, yet also always trying to achieve more, always trying to move on and progress in your career?
I feel like one of the main points for that question is my my friends from a really long time, like the guys I know for when I started the high school and primary school, like those guys that I've grew up with, they are the people that like keeps me on earth, I feel like, because they've known me when I wasn't even good at soccer. Like seriously, like that friendship, there's I think 7 guys who are way better than me back when we were 13, 14 years old. So in their head, they're like you're nothing to us because we've been way better than you. So I don't know why would you think that you're a superstar or anything like that. Like they keeps me on earth, but you know it's like I take this not seriously, but for real though, it keeps me on earth because I just feel like it doesn't matter um if I'm really known over here. People think that I'm a superstar. People think that yeah, I don't know, I make how much money I make. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you just out here to have fun and play the game that you love. So I just feel like yeah, that helps me a lot to just be myself and be able to perform on the day and just be able to yeah enjoy what I do. And I feel like when one game that really shocked me was the one we played against PSG, because PSG is a team that I use on FIFA a lot, and I feel like it was really surreal that to be able to play against them, because yeah, I've watched them on TV my whole life. I support when I was younger. I used to support Barcelona. I was a Barcelona fan, and PSG was always getting beat by Barca, and I was like, how am I here playing against them? It doesn't make sense. But yeah, it was a dream of mine to be here and be able to play those games. Really, now it felt like a surreal moment, but that was actually why I was there. That's what I wanted to do, and yeah, I'm just grateful to be able to play in those type of environments, that type of league, and yeah, I'm really hungry for more. And yeah, there's a quote that says, I didn't come this far to only come this far. And yeah, that just means that you have to be hungry. And yes, there's goals you set every year, goals you set every month, but after you achieve those goals, what's next? So that's kind of like the mentality I have, and I'm kind of hungry for more. And if you think about it, there's a World Cup that's coming in 2026, and these are moments that I have to build from to be able to be ready for that kind of tournament, because it's kind of like a one in a lifetime type of thing, you know. So yeah, really excited about that.
Yeah, so many obviously amazing moments as you spoke about there, and so many moments that just probably felt full circle for you. And something you bring up there that I think is extremely fascinating is obviously, you weren't a top player growing up,
No,
and that kind of brings us into your background growing up.
yeah,
And reading into you and looking into you a little bit prior to this, I know that a couple key components for you growing up is like, you didn't even have a field growing up. You talked about playing at your church, with the using the fence as goals. So,
yeah.
and also, I mean, I know futsal was a huge part of your experience growing up. So, could you just speak a little bit more about your time growing up in Montreal? Obviously, I know it's a city full of so many talented players and so much rich culture, but it isn't necessarily a major soccer city from a world perspective. They don't even have a CPL team. So could you just speak a little bit more about, your childhood experiences growing up and everything like that?
Yeah, I think one of the main things that made me passionate about football was just me being able to play around with my friends back in that play yard. Yeah, it was in a church parking lot, and we actually used use the fences as goals, and that was actually one of the best moments of my life, because that's when you're just playing and you don't worry about anything else. And in our generation, we didn't used to play our video games till like 2 3 a.m. We used to go out and play until the lights goes out, and there's no other how can I say this, like you can't see the ball anymore, and that's when we will stop playing and go back home. And that's like those are the moments that made me think that I want to do this my whole life. And obviously, as we're growing up, people has got responsibilities, and you got to go work and provide for families and stuff. But I wanted to do this in order to provide for my family, and the only way to do so was to be a professional. So yeah, that was one of my goal and my dream to do. And I'm really grateful to be able to be a football player now, because it just it just went down to how bad I wanted it. I just wanted to win. Let's say I'll go with my friends back when I was like 8 9 year old. All I wanted to do was win that game. Because for me, that game was the most important thing on the day, for sure. I wanted to do so, and I felt like, yeah, I wanted to do this all my life. And yeah, to be honest, I feel like there's probably other moments that made me really passionate about this sport. Was also when I was playing. I think I was 13 or 14 years old, and we used to have a youth club I was playing in CS Saint Laurent, and we just qualified for national championship to be able to play and yeah, compete against other provinces back in Canada. I wasn't a star player at all. Like, I was on the bench, just letting you know. I was on the bench. I was not playing. I was not a top player. People were not coming in to scout me at all. But just to be able to be with my friends and compete for something that we all wanted to, it just meant the world to me. And that's also one of the main thing that made me continue the sport. Is just how friendships can be built in something that you guys are all passionate about, and yeah, that made me really fall in love with the sport.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's extremely unique. And obviously, there's so many players probably out there that will listen to this that are 13, 14 years of age and are on the bench
Yeah,
for their teams. And now it's incredible to look at yourself and you're playing in a top five league in the world and you were on the bench and, Canada for your club team,
yeah,
not even MLS Academy team. So it's amazing. But, obviously, you spoke on there how your dream was obviously to always be a professional. I heard somewhere else that, at the age of 19, you kind of felt like that was the first time you could probably play professionally. But I'm sure those years, 15, 16, 17 were so key for your development. Obviously, you're coming off the bench for your team
yeah,
there. So, what were you doing in those years that kind of you felt like sparked your development and created some opportunities for you to continue to push on in your
yeah.
career?
So, like I said to you, when I was 13, 14, we qualified for a national championship, kind of. And yeah, we're playing against other provinces. I wasn't playing, but I was there. And in my head, I was just like, I'm playing with the best players I can play with in my province. And the only way to improve is to be in that 11. Because to me, like changing club for playing time would just mean that I'm not good enough to play in that team. That's why I'm leaving. And I just felt like in order to improve or just like be better, I had to go, yeah, from the bench to the starting 11 by training hard, really. And that was kind of like one of the mentality I had, even though it was kind of childish, but I really wanted to prove myself that I was good enough to play in that team, even though I was not playing at the time. And yeah, I think from 14 to 18, I was not a starter in that team, I think. Yeah. And then when I started growing up a little bit more and I switched position because I started as a striker and then I wasn't playing and I was still really small. I was like one of the smallest players in my team at 15, 16, and my coach decided to switch me as a red back or left back because that time it didn't matter if you didn't have a left foot. You play left or right, it's fine. And then what 18, I think 17, 18, I started growing up a little bit more, and my coach was like, "Okay, let me try you in the midfield," and it actually worked out a little bit more. I was way better at midfield than I was at right back or left back. And then it was like, okay, get 20 minutes here, 30 minutes here, 15. I was actually coming on and performing well. And at 19, I started being a bit bigger, way bigger. And I was playing as a six and I was dominating. Like I was really good. And my coach was like, okay, you be a starter at the sixth position. And I was like, okay, there's actually something going on here. Because people were saying, oh, you've improved really well. Like even my friends that were saying that I was not good enough, they were saying, okay, you're actually nice now. And I was like, okay, there might be something there. And then there was like that transition where you go from youth club to a semi-pro team. And I encountered one of my coaches that was back in school because there was a lot of platform you could play in Montreal. There was like your U club, and then there was like college, but not really college. It's like I'd say a community college. I'd say that kind of thing. Because from then from there you can go to university. So you have to start there to in order to go to university. So I'll call that the community college. And I went through there, and that's when I met Francois Bourget. That's his name. I met this coach, and that same coach had a semi-pro team as well. So he saw me play, and he was like, "Okay, you could kind of try and join our team at the semi-pro level, and we'll see if you're good enough to stay in that team." And I actually did that, and he was like, "Okay, we're really stacked in the midfield position, but you have the build of a center back. So let me try as a center back." And I took that as a disrespect, to be honest, because back in the days, no one would play center back. Like that was the worst position you could ever play. That just means to us that just meant that you're not good enough with your feet, and all you can do is defend. That's all. And I was not even a defender, like an actual defender. I was a midfielder. So I really wanted to enjoy the ball, create those passes, assists, and sometimes a shot from long distance, all that stuff. And I looked at him and I was like, you serious? Like, you really think I'm that bad to be playing center back? And like I said, I was really passionate about this sport, and I really wanted to enjoy and also be with my friends because my friends were on that same team, and I felt like, okay, yeah, it's a position I don't like, but I really like this sport, and I really want to be on the field. So okay, let me give it a try. And I gave it a try, and I ended up dominating that season, and I was actually one of the best center backs in the league and all that stuff. And I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, wow, like that's a statement, you know. So what are the next steps? What can I do next? And how can I be a better player? And also, you know what? Let me try and go pro for real, because back in when I was from 14 to 18, it was nowhere near going pro. It was just get better at soccer, you know. But at 20, 19, 20, I was like, okay, wow, I can actually go pro. But at my age, 19, 20, like there's already players making the debut for their professional teams. Like, what do you mean? Go try, go and try pro. And I was like, yeah, I might not be able to do it, but let me go ahead and try, you know. And there were a lot of NCAA teams that I was watching on YouTube, and I saw that people can get drafted from the NCAA, and I was like, okay, this could be it. This could be the pathway. So how can I go there and all that stuff? And I realized that you had to have good grades in order to join a university. And brother, oh, my grades were not it. I really sucked at school. I won't lie to you. That's why I had to end up at Iowa Western Community College and meet Mike Brown. It was it was a story, bro. I'm telling you, it was a story. And then a year later, I meet this guy, and then you know the rest. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously that's it's an incredible story, especially the way you put it in.
Yeah.
I do now want to get into that time at Iowa Western, and specifically, I know that the process to get to Iowa Western, you kind of went to a combine and stood out there. So, do you remember anything about that combine and kind of that experience, and also, your kind of first thoughts about going to what I'm sure at the time you thought was, obviously very few people know about the quality of Iowa Western. They soon will know once this podcast is over.
Yeah.
But what were your first thoughts about going to a junior college, which is not
So
anywhere near
yeah.
the highest
So yeah.
pyramid when you West?
The guy's name is Ribeiro Mugen. He's the one who's placing players from Montreal to the schools. I won't say big schools because I didn't go to a big school at first. I went to a community college, which is, it's not great. But I won't lie to you. That was the best choice I've ever made. The best choice I've ever made because going there, I just felt that I was gonna improve, but I also didn't think that I was gonna find discipline because I was undisciplined. Like I didn't know nothing about coming in early, doing extra work, practicing hard. Like when I say hard, is like let's say you've got to do sprints from one end to another end, and you've got to touch the baseline before going to that other lane. I was not doing that. Like I would go and cut lines and all that stuff. But that coach made me like go through it all. Like the amount of stuff I went through. Jesus is he's laughing because he knows what happened over there. But yeah, I think yeah, it was the best choice I've made because it just built me for what was next and what was actually going to be how it was going to be in the professional level. Because over there, if you don't have those requirements, you're not going to cut it. Even you're not going to make the cut, even if you're good. Because there's a lot of talented players around the world, but if they're not disciplined enough to be in the squad, like I don't know, a Nice or a Marseille, you're not going to make it. They're just going to get rid of you because they know that there's all other talented players. And yeah, that's what Mike Brown trying to implement and put in my head because I didn't get it at first, and I just really hated the guy. I hated it. I hated him. My first month, I just hated him. But build relationship, and then now I love him. He's my guy now. But yeah, I had to go through this in order to be able to just be here right now. To be honest.
Yeah, it's incredible how that happens, and
Yeah.
there's now many legendary stories I've heard about the experience at Iowa Western. And this is kind of a question for both of you now. Could you kind of talk about the level of discipline and kind of the activities you guys would have to do as
Yeah.
punishments? I've heard famous stories of rolling in the snow and
Oh yeah.
whatnot. Could you kind of
Yeah.
describe just the level of kind of
So
craziness around?
there's a lot like there's little stuff, there's little stuff. So we're how old were we? Like 21, 22 years old, full of adrenaline. And there's like how can I say this? We've built a good relationship with the volleyball team that was over there at Iowa Western. And we were kind of rebels, I'd say, because we would have a curfew at 10 p.m. And at 10 p.m., at 10:00, someone will come and knock on your door to make sure you're here. And there's some stories, people were not really, you know, they wouldn't make that curfew sometimes. And if you don't make that curfew, you're done for the next day. You just know that you don't have to go to training. You'll be going in the snow and roll for an unlimited time until he looks at his clock. He's like, okay, yeah, you're good. And that that can go through 1 hour, 2, 3 hours. I was lucky enough to roll 2 hours. I was lucky enough to roll 2 hours. I think there was other stuff too. No, I think the worst thing you could do is rolling. I swear, it's the worst thing you could do because you can feel what you've eaten trying to come out, and I'm telling you, it was a great great 2 years I had over there. A year and a half, I'd say. Yeah, I'm
Well,
telling you, it was something.
personally, I have to say I was lucky enough to not to be there. That happened the semester before I got there, so I
Yeah,
didn't have to roll in the snow that one time. But yeah, it just speaks highly about how Mike Brown, as a coach, he's able to bring all these players, and look at, okay, so you need to improve this. For me, it was a similar process, and it was just okay. So what do we need to work on? As Moise said, I was coming from a non-great academical moment of my life. And also soccer wise, he tells you, okay, you want to become the best player you can be, so these are the things that you need to improve, and he will be on your ass, like, okay, most I don't know with you, but with me was okay. You need to have more assists and more goals, and it was on my ass. Okay, so you need to do this, and this every day in practice, every day, and he just keeps you accountable, so you take those consistent steps towards
yeah,
improving. So I think it also speaks highly of him how invested he is in helping those players improve and grow.
yeah. I think that's one of the things that makes him Mike Brown is just how invested he is. Like Jesus said, he'll hold everyone accountable, and as soon as he'll see that you're not invested as he is, he'll get rid of you. He'll just find someone else, and he's not scared about telling you stuff right in front of your head, like right in front of you. He'll tell you everything that you need to improve. He'll tell it in front of everyone. It's a key, so, so you can know. He's so serious about it, and he's done that to me, and I think, mature enough to not take it as a disrespect, but just to see that he's really invested in working on me. Like he could have chose I don't know who, but he decided to invest on me in me, and I just took that as a blessing, really, because I think I've improved a lot just from the year and a half that I spent over there, and I feel like I told you, like if I didn't go to Iowa Western, I don't think I'll be here right now. Seriously. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing how that works, and obviously,
Yeah.
I think it speaks volumes there about just the buy-in and how much it matters for people to surround themselves with people
Yeah.
that as bought in as they are, and how they care about them that as much as they are. So, again, speaks volumes there. And obviously, the next stop on your career is pretty noteworthy too. I know it was a short one, and
Mhm.
it was obviously led to the move to the professional game, but it was an extremely special time you had at University of New Hampshire as well. So, can you talk a little bit about obviously the move? Why you made the move? I know you had some other opportunities, and obviously how special of a place that was for you as well.
Yeah, I just felt like New Hampshire was the right spot for me, just because how it just felt family oriented indirectly. Like, I'm not related to any other coaches or anything like that, but the way they make me feel was just as if I was one of them. And that's also why I chose to go there, because I just felt like for other schools, it would just be like, it's just another great defender. It's just another good player that we'll bring in. And then when he's done with his degree, we'll just not get in touch with him anymore. And yeah, like, go on with your life. But I just felt like at UNH it wouldn't be like that, and also I felt that throughout my teammates as well, and how well we were really together throughout losses, wins. It felt like a family over there, and that's really why I made the choice to go there. And yeah, it was a short time, really, but that just also speaks volume about how well I worked when I was at Iowa Western. It just got me ready for the next step quickly, and yeah, I obviously wanted to finish my degree at New Hampshire and be able to do my senior year over there. But my goal was to go professional. So yeah, I was really fortunate to leave there after 6 months.
Yeah, it's incredible to look back and now kind of look. You were only at University of New Hampshire. Here you are. You got a junior college, and 6 months later,
Yeah.
after spending time in Division One, you're taking third overall. So I gotta ask you, did you feel like you were the third overall pick? Did you feel like you were a top draft pick when you were leaving Iowa Western, or what was your kind of thoughts now looking back upon what your feelings were once leaving Iowa Western?
Uh, you Iowa Western or New Hampshire?
I'm saying, when you left Iowa Western at the time, you look ahead and 6 months later, you're taking third
Okay.
overall. Did you
Yeah,
feel
I
like
get
you
you. I
were
get you.
ready
I
for
get you.
that then?
So yeah, I didn't feel like I was gonna be a top draft pick. If I'm being honest, I was like, I'm gonna go there to improve, because there was also obviously some stuff that I needed to improve in order to be just a better player, not even a top draft pick or whatever you want to call it. I just wanted to be a better player, because my main thing was to learn and improve. Because I just felt like at my age, when I was, I think, 22, I was just thinking that, okay, there's definitely other players that has way more experience than me at the same age. So I just need to be a better player and really learn and put my hand down and go to work. But yeah, I think I'd say I think I was a good player, because obviously you can't just go from a junior college and enter their starting 11 of a top 10 team in the NCAA. I think that you have to be good for sure. But a top draft pick, I'd say no. I don't think so. I think I was a good player. That's all.
Yeah, it's funny how it works that way. And,
Yeah,
again, a kind of common theme throughout your career is, just how quickly stuff happens for you. And
yeah,
I got to take you back to obviously that time period of obviously when the season ends at University of New Hampshire. I know the
yeah.
MLS draft process is extremely swift. So can you kind of walk us through, your thoughts and feelings? Like you mentioned just prior, like your plan was to kind of obviously you wanted to go pro, but you were also planning on finishing your degree.
Yeah.
How did that process kind of happen, and then lead us up to the time you were taken by the Rapids?
So yeah, it was kind of a brutal ending, though, if you think about it, because we were in the second round of the NCAA tourney, and we played FIU, a team that we beat 3-1, 3-0, sorry, at home, and went there, and we were pretty confident about winning. We ended up losing in PKs. I shot one PK. I missed, just to clarify. So it was kind of brutal. It was really brutal. But yeah, I was talking with my head coach over there, and we were really talking about what will be the next step for me. I was not even thinking about going pro that year. I was really trying to come back and confirm, and be an established player in college. And yeah, when in that same meeting, he just told me about a possibility for me to enter the MLS showcase, and I was keen to go for sure. I was really positive. I was like, "Oh yeah, why not?" But then he said to me that in order for me to go pro, back in that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you have to be able to be a GA, Generation Adidas contract, because if you're not, then you have to be a senior. And I was a junior, so that was the only way for me to go. And yeah, and then he was like, if you're not a GA, then don't try to leave school and go to a pro team. That wouldn't make sense. You just stay here and get your degree. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I want to get my degree for my mom. Yeah, make her happy, and everything will be good. So then I go to the MLS showcase. I do really well. I've got like 10 to 15 interviews, I think, with MLS sides, and I'm like, okay, this might be really serious. Like it might really happen. And I was talking to one of the many agents that was talking to me. That's now my agent, by the way. And he was like, "Yeah, Colorado Rapids really likes you. They really like the interview they had with you, but nothing is confirmed yet. We just know that they're in one of your targets, in their targets. You're in one of their targets. Sorry." And then I was like, "Okay, no problem." And he asked me if I really wanted to go pro that year, and I was like, "To be honest with you, not really, because I feel like it would be rushed, and yeah, I'm not really ready. I kind of want to finish my degree and all that stuff." And he said to me, "No problem. You just do another year, and then you'll get drafted, and everyone will be happy." And I was like, "Yeah, no problem." And then 2 years after, 2 years, 2 days after the combine, he calls me and he goes, "You got the GA contract. You going pro?" Yo, I was in the car. I started screaming, man. I screamed for like so long, and I called my mom and I told her, "Yeah." And I made a joke to my mom. I don't know why I made a joke, but I was like, "Yeah, I'm quitting. I'm quitting school. I'm not going to school anymore." And I hung up. She calls me screaming, "What do you mean you're done with school?" And then I told her, "Nah, I'm going pro. I'm going to. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going pro for sure because I've got the Generation Adidas contract." I show her the contract, and she's like, "Oh my god, gonna be making money now. Our life are changing." And I'm like, "Oh, whoa, 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 relax. I don't even know where I'm going yet. Why you going so far in your head?" And then yeah, it's a draft day, and I just waited. It's kind of crazy because in my head, I was never thinking that I was going to be a GA first, and I was never thinking that I was going to be third overall. So to just wait 2 names, and then your life is changing because I waited for, I think I forgot, Hamadi Diop and the other guy that went to Orlando, second draft pick, yeah, and then that was me. Crazy. I went to Colorado Rapids, and the rest is history, huh? Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy, honestly. I think it's a story of your career again of how fast things kind of develop and materialize, and I think it also kind of speaks about the MLS draft process about how quickly
Yeah.
that can happen. There's no
Mhm.
other sport in the United States where something can materialize that quick. So it's extremely fascinating in that circumstance. And
Yeah.
I know you get to Colorado, and obviously both coaching staffs you've had in your time there really rated you. And I know, I've heard obviously people speak upon your first season there and how it was kind of a period of development for you. You battle injuries, but now looking back on that first season, obviously it was a big period of development for you, especially towards the end of the season. But kind of what were your first thoughts coming into that season, and how did you kind of feel like you developed as that season went on?
Yeah, to be honest, on my first season, I just wanted to learn as much as I can because I knew I was not gonna have a starting role or be one of the main guys over there. I just wanted to put my hand down and yeah, learn from the vets that was in our squad. And yeah, I think I was behind Danny Wilson, Laras Abubakar, and Andres Maxo, who was the kind of like yeah, we were playing in a back three, so they were the starting center backs in front of me, and just really learning on how they prepare for a game, how they train, and really like take the little stuff from them. And that kind of helped me a lot throughout the end of the year because there was a change in our coaching staff, and yeah, I was told that I was going to get significant minutes for the end of the season, and that really helped me a lot. That moment from I think after my injury, I had like 3 months. I was out for 3 months because of an MCL tear, and yeah, from May to I think October, that's when I was really putting my head down and going to work and learning from the guys that was out there. And yeah, when I was told I was gonna play way more than I used to, I was really excited for sure, but I was a bit nervous because I was just like, okay, this is not college, and you have to be really professional and also know that you're not the fastest guy out there because there's gonna be fastest players, smartest players, stronger players. So you have to be a bit, smart and use your head a little bit more. And I feel like it helped me a lot for our next season in 2024 for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you talk about kind of nerves there, and I'm sure they were obviously there, as you mentioned. It's a jump from the college to professional level. I
Yeah.
think it's arguably the biggest jump the United States we kind of have. But you also spoke about how kind of towards the end of the season you had that confidence. When did you kind of feel those nerves were slowly turning into confidence? Did you remember there was a specific match, a specific moment in a match, or was it just something that was kind of gradual?
Yeah, I think it was there was one significant moment. We played the New England Revolution, I think, back in October or the end of October, if I remember. Or no, sorry. It was the end of September. Yeah, that's when we played them. When we played them, and that was really significant to me because that was the first time I was going to start at the center back position because there were some games I was playing. I was playing as left back or right back, and that was not my position. So for me to be able to play at my position and perform well, really just from that game, I really built in confidence, and I was getting called up again for our national team, and that really helped me into yeah, playing well for the rest of the season and also getting ready for our next year. And yeah, I had a really really good game that day, and the interim coach just got in touch with me also after the game and let me know that I need to build from that performance because yeah, it was a solid one. So I think I built confidence from there.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it's cool to look back on, obviously, kind of like you said, one specific
Yeah.
match where, you really feel like you push on in your career. And you mentioned the national team around that time as well. And I'm sure that was obviously a huge achievement, a huge confidence booster, but also a very eye-opening experience for you. What were your kind of first thoughts upon breaking into the national team, and how has that kind of developed for you? Obviously now looking back, you're one of the two players in the Copa America to play every single minute for their country. So looking back, what were those first periods like for the national team?
Yeah, that was stressful, man. I won't lie to you, that was really stressful. I was really happy, obviously. I was really proud of myself for achieving this. But on my first game on the debut, I was told I was gonna play out of position. So that made me more anxious. But yeah, I tried my best to just focus on what I knew and not try to do something that I didn't know and play as simple as I could. And I feel like yeah, as soon as the whistle blew, I was myself again, and yeah, I was building in confidence also. And we had a strong performance on that day. I think we drew, but we were up for a long time and we conceded late. But yeah, I think I had a really good performance also. But yeah, going to the national team is always a grateful moment. You just have to take it all in for sure because uh, not everyone is getting to play for the national team and represent their country. So you have to make sure that when you step on the field, you do your job and you make sure that you leave it all out for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, looking from the outside perspective, your national team ride is kind of meteoric in a sense. I think you look at a lot of pathways for players that maybe aren't players that are breaking in the national team when they're 17, and a lot of times, it kind of takes them a bit of a period to slowly, implement their way into the national team. Yet, from an outward perspective, obviously you break in such a short time period. You're one of the first names on the team sheet, and I think that bodes a lot from the coach. Can you kind of describe what your relationship is like with Jesse March and just how much confidence he's put in you and being able to kind of build and become one of the key figures within the national team?
Yeah. Before Jesse was appointed, I didn't have a starting role in our squad. I think I was an important player, but I didn't have a starting role, which was okay to me because I felt like it was part of the process. But when Jesse got appointed, he gave me a call and he told me right away that he was going to invest in me and have me play at the center back position. And yeah, just building confidence because right after he was appointed, we knew that we were going to play the Netherlands and France, which are the best teams in the world as of right now. I think they're second and seventh or something like that, which is unbelievable. So to me, to be able to play in against those caliber of opponents, I feel like it just speaking volume of how highly he sees me, and I just needed to give him back the favor and let him know that yeah, you can count on me. And yeah, I think I've done that. And yeah, our relationship is really good, really good. He came to see my first game in Nice against Toulouse back in August, and yeah, we had a little chat after that, talked a little bit, and yeah, sometimes he'll give me a call or I'll give him a call and we'll chat about life. And yeah, he's a really good guy.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think it's always so important for a player that has, a coach that has that level of belief in you. Somebody like you said who pulls you aside and tells you, look, you're going to be a really important player for me. And especially going into matches like that, obviously against the two top national teams in the world, to have that level of belief from your coaches, I'm sure is unbelievable. And yeah, I know speaking of high level opponents, you played against your childhood idol twice in the Copa America and did very well for yourself. Could you walk us through one, how much that meant to you and those experiences? Obviously, I know you played against them with Inter Miami as well, but also, how much you learned. You talked about how, you've watched those matches probably back more than any other match in your career, and you felt like you learned more from that experience playing against Messi in those Copa America matches. But how special have those matches been for you in your career so far?
Yeah, they're special for sure because you just at some point in your life you just wish you could play against the best player in the world, and to be able to do that three times is just unbelievable. And you just have to let it sink it all in for sure, but you also have to be able to just put your head down and be able that you transition and you're like, okay, no, we have to win this game. Okay, it's the best player in the world, but at the end of the day, I've got to do my job and be able to, yeah, try and stop him. Because at the end of the day, you want the result, you want to win, you want to defend your country, and you just gotta let all this dream and what you used to think about this player aside and just go to work. And I feel like obviously thinking about it now, it's a really proud moment for me, something that I cherish and I can talk to my kids when I grow old. But yeah, I was really proud of myself for achieving that for sure. I wish we would go on a different result. I wish we could win against Argentina and make it even more beautiful. But you also have to respect the game and be able to know that they were better on the day.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, like you mentioned there, it's an incredible feat and something obviously you'll be able to be proud about your whole life. And also, I mean, I think the learning aspect of it is so important. And listen, we've obviously had such a fantastic conversation about your career, and I think it's going to inspire countless amount of players just because your story is incredible. And to kind of finish this conversation off, I kind of want to talk a little bit about something that you've obviously advocated quite a bit about, and something that's kind of near and dear to your heart about just creating for more opportunities for players in Montreal. And I know you've spoken about also trying to get a CPL team in Montreal, but can you just kind of talk about the level of players in Montreal? I know famously there was a team that obviously was playing in Liga in Canada that obviously defeated and played against Toronto FC and obviously did well in the Canadian kind of their version of the Open Cup. So could you just kind of just talk about the level of Montreal and how we can create more opportunities for players in Montreal?
Yeah, I think the talent in Montreal is unmatched really because you can find so many talented players that are just like me, just like you, Jesus, and the only thing that separates them from us is just that no one is going there to watch them play. And I feel like it's a shame because you could actually build from my story and just go to I think by example CS Saint Laurent against FC Laval, yeah, which is a really big fixture back in Montreal. It's two sides that are competing for the national championship, which is like you said, similar to the Open Cup. And there's a lot of quality over there. There's players from different age groups. I'd say 18-year-old players that play in the semi-pro level also, where you could also find 22, 24-old players that are actually really good. And some of them are my dear friends that I grew up with. And I was just fortunate enough to decide that, yeah, there was no opportunity for me to be able to play here. So I'll just go on and take my talent elsewhere where people can actually look at me play. And I just feel like with what happened to me, people can just be able to be like, okay, let's just take a chance and go and watch some talents back in Montreal and see for yourself if they've got the quality to perform in I'd say an NCAA game or MLS or CPL or USL, which whatever level it is, just for them to be able to let people see them really. And I feel like it's a shame that the visibility is not there yet, but I feel like there's a little bit of a change. If you can look at, if you look 10 years ago, you would have never thought that there's gonna be five Canadian players playing in the Liga, and there's players are playing in the Champions League game and winning the Champions League. So there's a lot of talent growing in Montreal or even Canada, I'd say. So yeah, I think it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. And I think stories like yourself obviously help that. And I know it's still obviously an untapped area, but I think just the media exposure and, obviously stories like yourself help it immensely. And, kind of finish it off here as well, I think, the pathway to come and play in collegiate soccer is becoming more and more respected throughout the world. And, specifically for a young player in Canada who's, making that decision and debating whether the move to the United States might be worth it in terms of maybe obviously his aspirations to play at the professional level or just overall the betterment of his life, what would you say to a young player considering, the idea of taking the collegiate pathway?
The first thing you have to tell yourself, I just don't think that saying that you want to go pro is enough because everyone wants to be a pro. Everyone has that dream, but I just feel like you need to have that passion. And what I mean by passion is that whatever setbacks is put in front of you, how are you going to react? And I feel like if you're passionate enough, you're going to react in a positive way and find whatever solution it is for you to be able to go to the next step. And I won't say that you have to go to the States just to go to the States, you know? I chose to go to the States because I thought that there was going to be a pathway for me to learn and also achieve what I wanted to do, which was going pro, obviously. But I just feel like you can't just want to go pro. It's just too easy for you to build from. I feel like you need to be passionate and really be able to learn because there's gonna be. You also have to be able to take critique because if in order to grow, you need to be accountable enough to take whatever your coach is going to tell you because some players if they're told that yeah your shot is not powerful enough or you're not positioning yourself well enough to be able to play in those games there's reactions that are not going to be positive and I feel like if someone is telling you giving you critique is not to push you down really it's just to see you grow and obviously be able to perform in that level so yeah that's what I'd say a young player.
Yeah, I don't think you could have summed it up any better there, obviously. I think throughout the course of this whole conversation, we've obviously learned of, everybody's aware of obviously your physical qualities and your values on the pitch, but I think what's become even more increasingly aware over the course of this conversation is just your values as a human being. And obviously on the field, you have your qualities, but I think it's your values as a human being and your beliefs that separate you above all else and have allowed you to have so much success, obviously on the pitch, but just in your overall life perspective. So again, Moise, thank you so much for coming on. This conversation has been amazing. Obviously your career is now well known to the public, and I think there'll be so much to take from your career in terms of what you did, how amazing your story is, but obviously, like I said again, the values you have as a human being, and just how any person can implement those values and find success over the course of their life. So this was an incredible conversation. I want to thank you so much again for coming on.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for having me, guys. It's been a good time speaking to you, man, for sure.
Yep, and best of luck again. I know you have a match again Saturday, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about you soon. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.